You know, the Michael Jackson movie starring Jaafar Jackson made me start thinking about the Jackson brothers and how we don't hear enough of their songs anymore. Now, again, Michael Jackson was so dominant, and then you have Janet Jackson. And again, the Jackson brothers hit more than 45 years ago and 50 years ago, right? So I can understand why we don't hear their songs, but they made some excellent tracks. So I want to give y'all 5 songs that kind of showcase the evolution of the Jackson brothers. And I'm going to go from 73 to 80. First of all, let me give an honorable mention. Let's go back to 1969. I want to give love to little Michael Jackson when the Jackson 5 first popped up and Who's Loving You. Can we please, as Tupac would say, please, can we please not compare anybody to Michael Jackson unless they had a pitch perfect voice at 11 years old. That's how old he was when he sang Who's Loving You. Go watch footage of him on Ed Sullivan and the angst and the passion he sang at 11. I mean, unless you're Christina Aguilera or Gladys Knight, who were great singers at that young age, please, let's not compare Usher or Chris Brown or Taylor Swift to this man. Because I don't know anybody, there's very few people who has a great voice at 11. That is fantastic. The only other version of Who's Loving You that I might just as much or more is probably In Vogue's The Beginning of Hold On, where the beautiful Terry Ellis is singing lead, even though they are all beautiful. I love Cindy, Terry, and Maxine of In Vogue. They were great. But the beginning of Hold On, where Terry sings Who's Loving You, is fantastic. And go listen to that version with headphones on and the harmonies that In Vogue had. Oh my God, I love In Vogue. But yeah, let's not compare anybody to Michael Jackson, because I don't know what you were doing at 11, but there's no way in hell I could have sang Who's Loving You at 11 years old with that voice. So shout out to little Michael Jackson. All right, let's get into the top 5. Number 5, Dancing Machine. Dancing Machine always trips me up because I always feel like Dancing Machine came out like in the mid or like 75, 76, or 77. It came in 1973, produced by Hal Davis. Hal Davis was one of the series of producers that the Jacksons worked with. Like there was the Corporation, Berry Gordy, and there was Hal Davis. Hal Davis produced Dancing Machine. Funky song. Hal Davis also produced Love Hangover for Diana Ross. That's how good this dude was. But yeah, Dancing Machine is fantastic because it's Michael Jackson at 15 years old. His voice is maturing. So there's always like a worry. Like you have this great voice at 11 years old. How are you going to sound when you get older? His voice matured nicely. But the most important thing about that song, groovy song, is this is the first time we see Michael Jackson do the robot. And usually when you go on TikTok or YouTube or some other things, you see people always trying to copy Michael Jackson's moves. It's like Smooth Criminal, Beat It, Billie Jean, Rock My World. Dancing Machine is probably the first time anybody was probably trying to copy Michael Jackson's dance moves. He danced a lot as a little kid. He danced a lot like James Brown, but this is like the first time he has a signature move. And I hate when people do the robot today because they go like this. It's like that. Yes, that's kind of the robot. But go watch footage of Michael Jackson from 1973 to 1978. What he was doing for his body was inhuman. And I was a breakdancer and a pop locker back in the day, and you tried to do the robot, but you can't do it like that guy. Not that guy from 1973. So shout out to Dancing Machine from 1973. Let's jump ahead to 1975. All I Do Is Think of You. The first time I heard that song was it was in the New Jack Swing era. Troop. I love Troop. Troop is an underrated group. At one point, they probably gave New Edition a run for their money because Troop can really sing and they can really dance. And they had an excellent producer in Chucky Booker. They had 3 albums, but the first 2 was fantastic. But all I do is think of you, because I was a DJ back then at WAUP-FM, which is now WZIP at the University of Akron. Shout out to y'all. That was like a Quiet Storm staple. That was a well-requested song. People love All I Do Is Think of You. And then one day I heard there was a remake. And I was like, that is not a remake. And it says by the Jackson 5. It's like, hey, buddy, I know the Jackson 5. I've never heard that song. And I went to look around, and it was. Now, again, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have Google. So I had to hunt. And I saw a bunch of Jackson 5 greatest hits, best ofs, didn't see it. And I found there was this obscure tape that had All I Do Is Think of You. I said, well, the title's the same. And I played it at the radio station in the studio. It's like, oh my God, it's the same song. Troop did an excellent version. I always lean towards the Troop version because they have an extra kick in their music of that song, but the Jackson 5 vocal, Michael Jackson lead vocal, is just fantastic. And I took that cassette and I put it on a reel-to-reel, and I was like, y'all ain't gonna believe this. This Troop song that we love so much, it's a remake. Man, so go, if you haven't heard All I Do Is Think of You by the Jackson 5, they performed it on Soul Train and in concert. Go find it. It's really, really good. So we're gonna jump ahead. So for all Joe Jackson's faults, and he has a lot, he was a very sharp, very smart businessman. He had those boys performing in clubs and bars around Indiana. So by the time they got to Motown in 1969, they were a polished act. And when he saw, because the Jackson's contract was up, and he didn't like how they were treating his sons, so he decided to leave and go to CBS Records. Now, in the process, they left behind Jermaine, because Jermaine married Berry Gordy's daughter, Hazel Gordy. So it had to be something, like your brother is way over here, and you're staying at Motown. He had a record deal and all that stuff, so he chose the Gordys over his family. It's like, oh, what was Christmas like? Oh my God. So the Jacksons, Michael, Jackie, Marlon, Randy, Tito, they went to CBS Records and they started working on Gamble and Huff. And they did the song Show You the Way to Go. My buddy James would love this track, even though he was a bigger fan of Lovely Ones, I think. Show You the Way to Go is classic Gamble and Huff. If Teddy Pendergrass could have sang this, when Teddy was with Harold Melvin, the Blue Notes, they could have sang this. The OJs with Eddie Levert and Walter Layton, they could have sang this. It is a classic, smooth Gamble and Huff groove. Oh my God, if you just need a song for a cookout this summer, go play Show Me the Way to Go. Or just any Gamble and Huff track, but Show You the Way to Go. Show You the Way to Go is just fantastic. And it's great because there's a pivot point. Before they got with Gamble and Huff, before when the Jackson brothers was at Motown, Berry Gordy, Hal Davis, the songwriters, they produced it. They produced those tracks. They wrote the tracks. And the Jackson brothers had a little bit input, but not that much. With Gamble and Huff, even though Gamble and Huff was the main producers and the songwriters and it's their vision and everything like that, they did talk to the Jackson brothers. Like if Michael had an idea, they listened to it. You know, the arrangement, the vocals, and it's the first time that Michael Jackson might have had an idea in his head. It's like, oh, I can give you an idea, and Gamble and Huff might have said, oh, this is a good idea. Let's try this. Or I'm not sure if it fits this one. Maybe it fits on a different song, or maybe go back home and work on that and come back. Like instead of just the Jackson brothers just, hey, here's the song, sing it. Have a good day at Motown. This is more like, yeah, it's our song, says Gamble and Huff, but man, if you have an idea that can help it out, like, yeah, go ahead. And I really do think if you take out the Gamble and Huff period with Michael Jackson, I don't know if he would have the confidence to talk to Quincy Jones as a producer and a songwriter. I think by product, I think Gamble and Huff gave Michael Jackson so much agency that Michael would say like, oh, I have these ideas in my head. I have this music in my head. I have these songs in my head. Can I give this to you and see what you think? And Gamble Huff didn't like push him away. It's like, yeah, let's talk about it. What do you got? And I think because of that confidence, by the time he met Quincy Jones on the Wiz and they started working on Off the Wall, I think Michael had a more confidence in himself to talk to Quincy Jones about music. Because Quincy by that point was already a legend. So I don't know if they jumped from Motown. If Michael Jackson stayed at Motown and then he met Quincy Jones, I don't know if Off the Wall would be the same, because I don't think Michael Jackson might have been as confident as a singer and a producer in his own right. All right, let's jump ahead. The next song, last two singles. Can You Feel It? Can You Feel It is fantastic. I love Can You Feel It. It's still a joyful, off-the-wall Michael Jackson. The video is fantastic because it reminds me of Tron, but it came out before Tron. I don't know what they did with that video, because I don't know if they used double exposures. I don't know if they painted it. It is a beautiful looking video. That's why I get so mad at MTV when they say, "Oh, we don't know any black videos." BS. Rick James made videos. The Commodores, before they broke up with Lionel Richie, Lady was a video. But Can You Feel It was probably the first great video by Michael Jackson. This is the first time Michael Jackson probably looked at something and said, we can do this as art. Before Thriller, before Beat It, Can You Feel It was that video. And not just the visuals of it, you still get that joyful, off-the-wall Michael Jackson vocal, because this came out after Off the Wall. But the funny thing is with that album, there's another track, which is number one to me, Heartbreak Hotel, No Place Hotel. The vocals on Can You Feel It was definitely felt like Off the Wall. If you listen to Heartbreak Hotel, because Michael wrote that, you get the vocals that was the beginnings of Thriller. There is a grit in his voice. There is an urgency in his voice where Can You Feel It was joyful and fun and inspirational. Heartbreak Hotel was kind of dark, and he was kind of really even more, his voice was even maturing even more. Go listen to that track, man. No Place Hotel, Heartbreak Hotel is so good. We should hear that song way more often. It is fantastic. And it's a song that could have been on Thriller, man. And it probably was. He probably, after they finished that track and he went on tour, he probably was working on tracks that probably would have ended up on Thriller. And I'll give y'all a bonus track. State of Shock. Michael Jackson, Mick Jagger. It was on Jackson's 2300 Jackson Street. Michael Jackson stopped the world twice with music. We Are the World, and it wasn't just him. We Are the World, people around the world played that all at the same time. And with State of Shock. This is the first lead song Michael Jackson sang on since Thriller. He sang backgrounds on Somebody's Watching Me, but this is like the first song that featured Michael Jackson. You have Mick Jagger on it, and the Rolling Stones weren't as hot as they used to be, but still Mick Jagger. So you have these two titans of pop culture on this same track, and every station in the country played this song. I don't know about country, but pop, R&B, rock, they all played that song. And it was fantastic. And I don't think there's anybody that I can think of that can stop the world musically than Michael Jackson. Not Taylor Swift, not Chris Brown, not Rihanna, not Beyonce. I don't think there's anybody in the world who can stop a track like that, like Michael Jackson. It is just fantastic. It's fantastic. So these are my songs that I'm giving much love to the Jackson brothers. What do you think of my top 5? I know I left a bunch of songs out. I know I left a bunch of songs out. So give me your top 5 songs by the Jackson brothers. And can we not compare anybody to little Michael Jackson? Unless you have a pitch perfect voice at 11 years old. Nobody should be compared to Michael Joseph Jackson. And if you saw the Michael movie, tell me what you think.